I worked very, very hard. I was a good athlete. I was always grinding. And, you learn not to take anything for granted when you grow up in a rougher neighborhood because, and not just you, but like nobody really has all that much at that point. So kind of when I launched into college, I really went into overdrive, especially with my academics, where I was like, you know what, I have actually an opportunity right now to do something big. And so I was studying exercise science. I planned on going on to get my doctorate in physical therapy. And then my senior year of college, I did an internship in PT, and I actually didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. It was a little too slow. So coming out of college, I went into sales for a short period of time. But then I went into personal training, which I never thought I could make any money doing. I started out at $8 an hour when I was 22 years old. But by the time I was 24, I launched my first LLC, which is called Strength Personal Training, which I actually ran for 20 years. And by the time I was 25, I was, making well into the six figures, running my own business as a personal trainer and one of the top trainers, in the country.
That's awesome. Yeah, that the level of discipline that it takes to, I forgot what I was listening to recently, but they were talking about how just having your own fitness level shows just a level of dedication that you are willing to put in that is immediately attractive even to a mate, right? Like to a wife. It's like, oh, well, this person at least is self-disciplined enough to be able to do that, so that gives a good sign on where they're going to go in life. And I'm not saying that physical fitness is what got you to be where you're at, but in a way it kind of is, right? Because you started your own company, started making a lot of money doing it. And just having that discipline and that drive, that it sounds like you got a lot from your dad, even though you kind of took a little bit more of the softer side elsewhere, I would assume, from your mom. You mentioned there was two very different cultures. Is your mom is she American?
Yeah, her family's been here for generations.
Okay.
Blonde hair, blue eyes. It's funny. I saw her yesterday. We had lunch together. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you look nothing like me." It's kind of funny, but yeah. So she, but it was interesting too because her parents passed away when she was young. So I really never met her parents. Okay. She didn't have siblings. So really, I just grew up with my Pakistani side. And I have two older sisters and then other siblings that came along when my dad remarried. But yeah, so I didn't really know my mom's family. I don't know them very well. Okay. But yeah, I found my own way, through the books that I was reading. One of the books that, was talked about a lot and isn't talked about all that much now because everybody talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But How to Win Friends and Influence People was a big book that really influenced me when I was probably around 18, 19. I read that book and I've read it many times. And it's just kind of like, you have to be the bigger person, and everyone has their own opinion. And when you make people wrong, you usually create enemies. And there is a time and place for that, but you also want to make sure that we're like, for me, I'm trying to live out my light for the Lord, right? And by doing that, isn't telling others that they're wrong. It's just by showing others by how I live.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. And I definitely want to get into the Christianity side of the house, especially, let me preface this. How old was your dad when he came to America?
I think he was 27, 26
okay.
or 27.
And you said you had the family on the Pakistani side. Did your dad's family come over here as well, or is it just him?
Yeah, so he was one of the first that came over. And talk about hard work. From what I understand, he worked in a bubblegum factory and put himself through Temple Business School. And then he also started bringing his siblings over, brought his parents over. So pretty much all of my family is here. I have some distant cousins that are over there that I know, but pretty much everyone is here. Yeah.
Okay. And what was it that led him to come and the rest of his family to follow suit?
Yeah, I think it's the American dream. It's interesting that we're on this topic because my dad, you talk about multiple generations that are here that kind of have maybe an attitude of entitlement, right? Or some type of expectation. My dad was actually really big on buying all made in the USA. So like his cars, his clothes. He would check everything because, it was just, and you talk to foreigners that come here now, and it's still very similar where, this is a land of such great opportunity, and there's just so much patriotism and pride to be here.
Yeah, and it's funny because for all the people who are complaining and saying that this is a terrible country, like A, they've probably had generations of being here, and B, what country are you planning to line up and go to, right? Because I've been to a lot of countries, some of them war torn, some of them not, right? But there's still not another country that I'm ready to just say, you know what, I'm going to go over there and hang out there and knock on their door. But we've got a ton of people wanting to knock on our door. Like that doesn't mean that in line we're perfect by any means. There's always room for us to grow and get better as a country. And improve. But man, oh man, I'd love to see some of this other stuff happen in some of the other countries, right?
No, it's true. It's true. And I've traveled. My wife and I, we've traveled to a lot of countries as well. I've never been to a country that is anything like the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, from landscapes to different environments to just the beauty of it and the culture.
Yeah, completely agreed. I mean, I lived in Japan for 3 years. I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, the fun military places that they get to send us, parts of the Sahara and Africa and various different spots. Somewhere around, 25 countries or so. And there's no way I would say I would love to travel the world months at a time. But I want to come back home. There is no place like hanging out back here and the freedoms and things that we get to enjoy here in America.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, obviously, shining a light for the Lord and being a Christian. We were chatting even before this. There's a micro tribe in GoBundance called the Christianity Micro Tribe, and that you're one of the co-hosts of that. When did you kind of get your grasp on Christianity? You went to Liberty University, which is known to be a very Christian school. Were you a Christian before that, or did it come after?
So over in Pakistan, generations and Pakistan became a country in, I want to say 45, 46. Can't remember the exact year. But before that, it was all part of India. And so for about, I think 3 generations, before me, there was a missionary over there that, I guess had, converted quite a few, Muslims and also Hindus. And so, over there, arranged marriages is the norm. So, if you're in a Christian community, usually you'll get arrangements. So dating back from before I think to my great grandfather and great grandmother, they converted, to Christianity. Wow. And so that kind of bred through, and that was also probably another big factor why my family came over, because of religious persecution. My dad would tell me, a lot of stories about, religious persecution, where there would inevitably be a lot of altercations, growing up. If you're a Christian, you get, you get ridiculed, you get made fun of, you get beat up. So, and then my dad and mom actually met in a church in Philly, which was a relatively, famous church. I don't remember the exact name of it now. Dr. Boise, famous preacher, who passed away in 2000, I believe. Dr. Boise, he was a really well-known preacher. But anyway, so they met there, and yeah, so I accepted Christ at a young age. I think I saw one of those rapture movies at church. Kind of scared me into it. I want to say I was 4 or 5. It was I don't know, Mark of the Beast or one of these movies that would scare you. And I'm I don't want to go to hell. But then, also growing up, and seeing some of the hypocrisy, in my family and in the church, I steered away from it. So I wasn't going to church very frequently in my teenage years, and pretty rebellious, which is another great thing that my mom moved me out of the city, because I was getting myself in a lot of trouble. And then I really didn't open the Bible or have much of a faith until right before I turned 18. I was dating Christine, and one night we just got talking about our faith, and she grew up Catholic, but really was kind of more subjective relativism, if if that makes sense, and just didn't have any type of firm foundation. And it was like inside of me, but it just hadn't been there for a while. So, I just kind of started talking to her about God and Romans Road and this and that. And she literally, the night before she went to Penn State our freshman year, she accepted Christ.
Wow.
And that was pretty much the turning point in our relationship, and also for me spiritually.